My name's Steve Goodall. I have spent the last 30 years actively helping companies and also scaling and buying companies at the same time. I've done them in most industries, aerospace, tech, finance as well. Over the last 10 years, I've really focused more on the consulting side, and this was something that really came out and really came up as an idea to start talking about of like why you don't get funded. A lot of founders were coming to us and saying, hey, I've pitched to like 100 different investors and I'm still not getting anywhere, but my business is the best thing since sliced bread. So there was something going on. This is how this came about.
I'm Amanda. I'm on the labor market and career side, and for the last 20 years I've been helping senior leaders and executives build their personal brand, their leadership style, and performance coaching. So obviously over the years we've done a lot of businesses together. We've helped a lot of businesses from consulting, auditing, advising, mentoring, you name it. So what I like to do is I like to take the corporate side of leadership and build that into the founders that I work with, because when you're ready to grow, that is not the time to learn. So yeah, with all that said, we've done a lot over the years, and we've actually kind of come up with this talk of why you're not getting funded. And yeah, the answer is...
Well, it's these first.
It's these, yeah.
So, no, this is off again.
Right now.
Hello, 1, 2.
Tech is awesome.
Go ahead.
Okay. Still working?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. All right, so I've got a big mouth. That's what you're telling me. Got it. All right, so we're going to assume that your business idea is the best thing since sliced bread, right? We're going to have to do that as a given, because problems within your go-to-market strategy or anything else that you've got as a founder, that's a whole different subject to deal with. What we're going to deal tonight is what we've seen as the common problem. And these are some of the things that we have heard. I don't have the right connections, or I can't access investors. That is a common one that I hear.
Yeah, a lot of the time they say the investors are not understanding my passion, my vision, and I don't know how to get through to them.
This next one I was actually added last week because I actually had this very statement made to me. My startup is too early to gain traction.
Yeah, the other one is I don't pitch well, or I'm not really good in front of people. That can all be changed.
And economic conditions are working against me. Hopefully you're starting to see a theme of what's going on here.
The other one is just favoritism. They think that founders with 3+ exits are going to get more money than them. That's not always the case. So yeah, there is a theme.
And so hopefully you can, like I said, you can see the theme there. Assuming that the business is correct, this is where the issue lies.
It's you.
And that was her saying that, so all negative reviews and nasty comments direct to her, please. So, look, here's the thing. Investors really care about... Do we have investors in the room, by the way? I know you're all going to slowly put your hand up, not to get... Investors care about two things, all right? They're going to care about return on investment, and
they're going to care about you. It doesn't matter whether you're a team or you're a solopreneur. You have to make sure that the investors realize that you can execute the business that you are pitching to them. And if you can't do that, they're not going to be interested.
I have found over the years, each investment house or a VC or angel, whatever you're looking at, they're going to have their own set of rules of how fast they want the money back, how many times X they want as well. These are very important things to actually learn and understand, because doing one pitch the same to every investor is definitely one of the reasons where you will struggle to raise money, because just like you can't use the same line all the time, it's exactly the same with investors. And then obviously the other thing as well is what we're really going to dive into tonight is you and the team that's associated with it. So, yeah, do you want to take these?
Yeah, no, so these are some of the things we see. And I would say these are the 3 most common elements. It has to do with money, who you are, and your team. And that's what builds your business, because if you don't have any of those, you're not a business, are you? So yeah, so let's look at the first one. Know who you are applying to. I see all the time founders just apply, mass apply, cold email, hundreds of investors. They get all these no's and they're like, what's going on? I have a great idea. They're not seeing it. What's going on? That whole vision idea, right? It's not just that. So when you are looking to start applying for funding, you need to know who the investor is. What is their thesis? When did they last fund a company? What companies are they invested in? Who are their advisors? There are a lot of areas that you need to focus on to know them, and you really have to dive in. Research, honestly, when you're starting to apply for funding, is going to be the most amount of time that you spend. Obviously, you recognize a lot of these companies, if not all of them. These are really great areas that you can start researching investors and what they do and who they're looking for, because they're telling you when they're ready for somebody, when they're looking for certain sectors, it's all there. But you have to find investors that fit your profile as a person, because you're going to be working with them really closely, and also as a business in the industry and the sector you're in.
So just to follow on to that, and I'm kind of really big on using real world examples. So I had a founder, not last week, the week before, who had paid a company over $5,000 to pitch for them. They were sending their pitches out to hundreds and hundreds of investors. Now, what do you think the response rate was on that? Exactly. Added sound effect, I love that. But this is a common thing that I'm seeing. At the end of the day, every investor has got a different personality to them. They've got different needs, they've got different requirements, and just sending that same tired pitch out, or pitching exactly the same if you're doing an in-person, it's never going to be effective.
So the other thing is presentation. And right here, a lot of people think that it's sales and I have to just sell them on my idea. And it's not really that. It's actually a lot of psychology. And presentation is a lot of things, from how you present yourself to style, which Charlotte will be talking about shortly. And when I'm talking about psychology, it's how you make investors feel and building that common ground. Because, and you can move to the next one, it's a matter of opening your pitch with a statement, opening your email to them with a statement that they recognize, that they agree with. Recently, I heard somebody give a pitch, and the opening lines were, did you know, did you know, did you know? Well, I didn't know two of those things, so I felt stupid. But that's what you're going to make investors feel like. So that whole psychology, you need to change your angle of how you're speaking to people and really focus on making them understand you and kind of building that common ground, like I said. So something you could say, instead of did you know, explain a crazy situation and say, that's crazy, right? They're gonna nod, they're gonna agree, whether they know about it or not. Now you're on the same level with them. So, there's some examples there, but yeah, really focus on building that relationship with them from the start.
So again, another direct world example. So I was helping some investors in the UK. We had somebody come in and pitch and this will date me a little bit, a broadband application. So we're like, very early 2000s. They started out by asking each of us. There was me and two other gentlemen in the office, and they asked us each individually a question, which I genuinely I don't even remember what the question was, but I had no idea what the answer was. It actually made me feel really uncomfortable. But I know the partners were even more, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but the barriers were already up. The guy started the entire pitch. It was a good product from memory. But the reality was they put everybody on a back foot. Like, he started out, we all basically turned around and said no. So it's like, how does that work? And I know this might sound basic, but you'll be amazed at, over the years, I would probably say I've listened to direct funding pitches, maybe 150. And I would say that is a common problem I hear, of you directing a question that almost forces me to say no. And that's a really, really, from a psychology point of view, I mean, any of the salesmen in here will know, you have 3 no's and it's a problem.
Yeah, never sow doubt when you're first starting to speak to somebody. The last one, I'm actually the people person, but you love this topic because you kind of deal with this in a slightly different way. So I'm going to let you talk about this.
I'm passionate about this. So team slides. And whether or not it's a pitch slide or whether or not you're talking to investors and it's a general conversation, a few things. Can you stop putting titles to people on when you've got founders decks going on? You don't. Really?
Yeah.
So you can tell we're married because I just do as I'm told immediately. I didn't even question. Notice
20
that.
years, guys.
That's it. Yeah, training. When it comes to the team, if you're a single founder, there is nothing wrong with that. The key is to understand where the gaps are in order to deliver a successful business. I'm a lot more interested when a founder comes to me and says, hey, this is my idea, this is what I'm doing. I am missing people with these skills to actually deliver and execute this business. That's a lot more impressive to me than somebody coming going, I can do it all, I've got all this. Because if you can't, I'm gonna find out during due diligence exactly how much BS you're shoveling. And that happens a lot more, and I can see an investor nodding, that happens a lot more than I think anybody really realizes. And so the other side of this, and I'm sorry, I don't want to rattle on too long, the other side is teams. I cannot tell you, if your team consists of family members, best friends from school, and other associated, there's nothing wrong with having those people per se. However, this is the question you need to ask yourself. Are they absolutely critical in making this business work? And you need to be able to answer truthfully, because the problem you have is if you've got somebody that's sat on your board or on your team slide and they put, I don't know, they put 10 grand in your business 6 months ago and they're just sat there along for the free ride. When I'm looking at a slide, I'm not looking at what's happened in your business previously. I want to know, are those the people on that slide that can actually get us to a 10x, to a 20x, to a 1000x? And if there's somebody there along for the free ride, he or she is hampering that effort. And it's the same with family members. So it's lessons that I've learned myself as well. The very first pitch I ever did basically consisted of my friends, and that's why I talk about it like I do, because the investor was honest enough with me and hard enough to stand up. I pitched, and it was basically at the time, sorry Amanda, it was my girlfriend at the time, it was a best friend from school. This was a long time ago. So, and he stood up, he actually stood up, physically stood up from the desk, and he said, I invest in people and I see nothing here. And he walked out, and it was his office. I am sat there, right, you know, absolutely, yeah, I've got this, I'm going to be the next millionaire, right? And that's, you know, that's what it, but that always resonated with me in terms of like, as we're trying to get our business going, we look at things like, you know, friends need to help us and so forth, but you have to be ruthless on those slides. Those people that are on your team need to be critical to the success of it. Not hangers-on, not people that you've known for years and you know they can do it, because the investors are going to want people that can deliver that, and they can help you as well. You know, this isn't just, you know, kind of exists in a vacuum, but please, when it comes to your team, be honest enough with yourself to be able to audit yourself and know where your weaknesses are, right? Because we will find them. Believe me, we will find them. And your team, we will pull to pieces. And so they should be able to stand up to any type of interrogation like that, because it's somebody else's money that you're taking and they're putting it on the line. They are going to check. So this is just kind of a go-to guide to try and prevent a lot of heartache and a lot of panic that ends up setting in, because I get those calls of like, it went terrible, the pitch went terrible, they started asking me, and I look at a deck and I've seen stamp collecting listed on a team slide under what their I don't know, hobbies? Yeah, hobbies. Stamp collecting. How is that? Nothing to do with stamp collecting the business, but it's on there. And you see people, it's like friend from school. I've seen those very words on that. Now we all can laugh about it and we can all go, oh, you know, I would never do that. But if you are talking to somebody and wanting money from them, you need to be able to look at your team and look at yourself and do an honest assessment. If you can't, Don't get a family member to do it. Get somebody professional to do it, because you need that honesty. It's a lot easier to like correct it before you get in front of investors rather than trying to correct it afterwards.
And something I just want to add on to that with the avoid fancy titles. When you are a founder and you're starting to build your team, don't give them big titles, because the roles and the jobs are going to change. As you guys grow, 3-6 months down the line, as you get funding, they're going to need to do many things. And we wear many hats, right, as founders and as the beginning teams. So don't give away those fancy titles with those, the big vesting schedules immediately. You're going to start to build that. And also, just as a founder, something I see on a lot of slides is that people put founder CEO on there. Unless your business is going into series levels, when you are just starting as pre-seed, you are just a founder. Don't take on that CEO role, because sometimes investors are going to look at that and just think, you know what, I don't think they're ready, I'm going to pass. Don't give them that doubt in there. Maybe you will be the CEO. Leadership is very different between being a founder and starting a company, and it's very different on being a CEO. So just keep that in mind. And if you are going to take on that role of CEO, get advisors, get mentors, and the investing firms that you use should be able to provide those for you as well to help you grow.
Yeah, just to add on to that, and again, it's just examples here. There was a transportation app that, not Uber, obviously, but they were out of San Francisco. They listed a overseas developer that was developing their app as their CTO. And the CTO wasn't willing to put in anything that he was not being paid for, right? That's not a CTO. That's not a CTO I'm interested in. That's great that they've got the app where they were, but this guy had like 5 people on his team, and most of them were effectively outsourced engineers, outsourced this and that really didn't have any kind of stake in the business at all. What they were there was for a paycheck. And so when I'm asking, why is he a CTO? Like, you're right at the founding stage. So be careful with those titles as well.
Yeah, it'll also save you a lot of money. I know that from talent planning. The common denominator with all of this and everything that we've seen and all of the younger businesses that we've dealt with, and even the established companies that I know he's worked on scaling especially, is that the founder, the person that's running the business, the CEO, is self-aware. And that is from, what you can and can't do. And what your team can and can't do. And you can objectively look at that. And that is so important, to constantly self-audit yourself and your team as you are going along, as you're getting ready for new fundraising, getting in the new teams, getting in the new people, what investors you need. You've got to always be self-aware of what's going on in the company, because I know we all get carried away. We all get excited. I run many businesses, and I know what that's like. So, that's something that I think is super important.
Yeah, I think just a last thought on that, and that kind of self-aware, and that's what we're really trying to put out here. When you're talking to investors or any type of money raising or anything at all, you have to be aware that you're talking to somebody and you need to convince them, but they need to be able to see. They need to be able to see the team, that is the only team that could take that product to where it needs to be. And that's so important. And I have seen it badly done, and I've seen it done really, really well. And it can be a single founder, and I've seen people get funded easily with that. I've seen it with good teams. But again, it's having that self-aware as founders, and I would class myself more as a founder in my early days. As a founder, we are all big-headed, okay? We think we're the best things. We have to be that way in order to get the product to market in the first place. But don't ever lose sight on the fact that when somebody else is looking in, it's not your family, it's not your friends who are going to tell you it's a great idea no matter what. It's going to be somebody that is going to be putting money on the line, and they are going to expect results.
Yeah, no, I want to thank you guys for being here. I mean, this is amazing. Lorraine, you have done an amazing job. I mean, this is only the second Tech Alley Henderson, guys. I mean, let's give it up for one more time. But no, really appreciate you guys here tonight. Yeah? Yeah,
so any questions? Which is really the awkward thing for me now, because I look out and there's no questions.
Yes, it's a question.
Gentleman in the back.
Oh, gosh.
What's that?
That's my husband, Steve.
What part?
Take the accent.
Oh, part of it, the proper part of England. What are you on about? London, mate. Yeah, London. Well, okay. So I can hear by. Ah, you see, this is where it's going to go bad. Okay. So I was born in Reading. Okay. And then Oi, that's enough now, right? And then I grew up in Bracknell.
Okay.
Yeah. Do I pass the test?
No.
That's a typical Londoner. Where are you from?
Croydon.
Okay, that figures. Okay, what, the posh end?
Yeah.
Oh, the posh.
It's not posh anymore.
Well, nowhere in Britain's posh anymore, right? Okay. Okay. So, anyone else?
Real questions. One over there.
Yeah.
How important is the pedigree of your team? Meaning like in the Bay Area, for example, if you were to start something up, you have people that went to Stanford, top schools, it looks better. It seems like it's easier to get funding that way.
Do you want to take that?
I didn't hear the question.
Oh, so how important is pedigree? If they've gone to Stanford, like he's referencing like the Bay Area, and if they've done that?
It can be. It depends on the investors. There's a lot of things. Even if you don't have that pedigree, you don't have those credentials, it doesn't matter. As long as you can execute and you can be that person. And I think that's a lot of where the leadership side comes along. And I know that works with a lot of my clients that are executives from their performance coaching. They didn't go to the big schools, to Wharton, to anything like that, Harvard, but they can still do it. So it's a matter of learning. And I think that's kind of what the last slide said. You can actually still learn. So again, it's going to come down to the investor you are using, and some just want it, and some are going to be a lot more open, and some just want the person.
Yeah, this comes back to the original point that we talked about investigating who you're going to pitch to and understanding what they like and what they don't like. So if you've got a team full of high school dropouts, maybe don't approach the investor that is just hell-bent on that level. And it really can make a difference because investors are human beings too. So, they will look, and there are ones that are just completely pro the idea of like, oh, you dropped out of college, fantastic, and they'll all go for that. And others are more, no, you have to have attained X, Y, and Z.
I will add on to that, just that research, again, when you are looking at for investors, go look at the team. Who are you going to be speaking to? Who are the initial people you have to pass? Go stalk them on LinkedIn, see where they went, get that common ground. Know, and that, again, this is all about that psychology of how to work with them, how to deal with them. Know who you are talking to, because if you do, you're going to make that connection immediately, and that's going to make a big difference. Yeah.
Yes.
Are there investors that are geared towards you? Like, I'm working with an 11-year-old to start up a business. Are there
Geared towards what, sorry?
youth, like an 11-year-old, somebody that's young, that's
Right.
starting their own company?
Possibly legal implications into that. I think China's got it buttoned down. But, I'm sorry. See, there's
I
no
try
point in
not
you
to let
asking
him out
questions. This is why I'm not allowed to speak. Okay, right. So here's the thing in that circumstance. Again, it would be very easy to check, especially on LinkedIn. That would actually be a good place to see if they've done any kind of more like, I've got to word this, child-focused businesses. Yeah, youth. There we go. Thank you. Yes, I would say for that. But it's not out of the realm. But there's obviously some legal implications in that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you spoke a lot about the founders, but as investors, are you guys interested in collaboration as well? So you're talking about in founders being collaborative, but if we were to put a group of investors together and founders together, and we structured a model that disrupted the pay-to-play. So basically, if you had a good idea, it ran the test of, it makes economic and environmental sense. So we ran it through an assessment process that had data that was about 87% correct. And in Vegas, that's pretty good odds. So you look at that, so you know that it's got a good track record. It's beyond just a concept, it's operational. And the founders put in sweat equity, so then we can actually get some philanthropic money, donations, crowdfunding and sweat equity and investor capital, and you're funding projects that have a high probability of success, what that does is it opens up a robust pipeline of entrepreneurs who've been quashed because they can't raise the funds because they're not in that pedigree or things such of that nature. And then we also have manageable mistakes, if there are any, because we know that this is just a scaling project to start with beyond conceptual, and we show that we can actually come together and this or something better, and that we don't consent any longer to things that are dysfunctional, that keep the classes from, hierarchy to you need us. And I would love to see this happen here in Tech Alley. And are you guys interested in more information?
Well, of course, I'm not going to say no when I'm stood up on a stage, am I? No, of course. You raised a very good point, because, there is, I think the perceived differences are not as big as they were maybe 10 years ago. I would say the last 10, 15 years, I've worked with a lot of investors who are genuinely interested in, there's so many good ideas out there. There's a lot of money to be made, and I think a lot of this, in my experience in this, and so I'm just talking personally now, the issues of holding them back have normally been, the way their team is set up. That's why we did what we did tonight. That's something I'm very keen to work on with any founders and any groups, and this is why it was we've got involved with the Lorraine, we've got involved with some others as well, because it's not hard. It's like you're going to somebody and going, hey, do you want to give me 50,000 and make 50 million back? That's not really a hard sell, but you've got to convince you can do that. And so what I think lets a lot of founders down is that they're not able to convey that. Yeah?
Yeah, and what that would be, you would share, so my point would be is that you would co-share a fractional CTO, right? You've got somebody who's some clout that it can make something move forward. It takes me about 10% more effort to bring 20 people along with me. Why not just do the 10% more effort and bring 20 people along with you, opposed to me just doing it for one company, or so on and so forth. And I think that is a collaborative effort, lowers the cost of living or cost of your basis, and then you share that, and then you do have a robust team that have traction to move forward all of these companies that hit the mark.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it comes down to the dream team. And I think, founders, you guys, people who are founders, they have that idea, they have that drive and that passion. But I'm a big fan, and I say this to founders all the time, be the dumbest guy in the room. Your team should just, from an intelligence standpoint, an expertise standpoint, just outstrip you all the time in every area you can. Because it's no one's going to execute the business as well as you can, right? And you know this. But surround yourself with killer people. Surround yourself with that team, because it becomes a no-brainer. It's really difficult when we have to start surgically removing teams to make something work, because it fractures. There's a whole community that ends up getting fractured because of that. So it's you can prevent so much of that heartache, and you can increase the chances of success by just making sure you have that excellent team from day one.
Kind of a broader question. I'm curious about your perspective. Obviously right now the fundraising environment is significantly different than it was 2-3 years ago, right? Are you seeing anything that's standing out along teams, founders that have been able to successfully raise in the last year or so that's kind of notable?
Can I use a swear word? Have your shit together. Honestly, my biggest pet peeve is really just founders getting in front of investors, and I said, the business side is a separate conversation, but the reality is it's a huge problem. The numbers don't add up, the go-to-market strategy doesn't make sense. There's a lot of things. So there are sometimes founders that are really good at getting in a room with an investor and really, really bad at presenting it and putting the deck together. So I don't really see, from my perspective, I see more founders going for it, but I see a lot more logistical problems with the way they're presenting their business. The friends on the pitch deck is a problem. You know, the business plan isn't terribly good, and they're very easy things to fix. The idea is solid, but if you present it in a bad way, it's never ever going to get money. If you present it in a good way, it's a no-brainer.
I would say, just dealing with some that are in fintech right now, they're not afraid to go after this, and they're going big or going home. And so that whole get your shit together, very accurate. You know, it is a case of talking to the most amount of people, because the more advice you get from the ones that are higher up, the more likely you're going to get introduced to the right people. And that's also another part of the research. So when you do have those chances to network, go tell everybody your ideas. Ask them for advice. Ask them just to introduce you to somebody. It's nothing. And if they do, great. And if they don't, okay. But you at least got your idea out there. It's going to help you get stronger. But I am seeing fintech being probably one of the best areas for that. I don't know if anybody in here is in fintech, but that's a big area right now.
I'm seeing the pathway for fintech a lot quicker.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and again, this is just two people up on stage saying this is what we're seeing. So as an industry whole, I don't know. You know, there are investors in the room if they want to give a point on that. But
I'm
yeah.
seeing a lot of tech go over into fintech as well. Fintech is just snapping you up. So, you know, you guys are all that.
Specifically in fintech, what I've noticed is that a lot of family offices and PE are coming in and investing earlier and earlier instead of the traditional VC firms.
So cool. Yeah.
It's where the money is.
So they're going to be a lot harder to find,
Yeah.
like these family offices and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, so the bigger you can go up, the higher you can go up, and finding those really unique people, that's going to be really crucial. But yeah, fintech is right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Forget mics. Okay, well, thank you all
Yes.
for your time.
If you guys have any questions afterwards, we're right over here.